Before we start our lab, let's go through what are the parameters and requirements that we need to do for the lab before we actually start the lab. Let's go through the parameters that is on the left hand side of the workspace. So you can see based on the parameters that is required to configure, we are supposed to configure a device name for both switch REV and the ISP router. Domain name, since domain name is involved here, means that we need to enable secure shell, crypto key for 1024 bit, create a user ref user with admin rights and password ref pass, and enable SSH for ISP only. So by looking at E, we know that we only need to enable secure shell for ISP, so we don't have to enable secure shell for switch REV. F, encrypted privilege executive password REV456 for both the device, console password for both ISP and switch REV, and virtual terminal password for switch REV only. This makes sense because we are enabling SSH for ISP and only telnet for switch REV. And last but not least, to configure your switch REV as SNMP agent, with the community string switch Cisco lab and read-only privilege, and to configure your switch REV to send log to the log server. Basically is to configure your syslog setting. But before we can do all this, let's take a look at all the other things. First, definitely we need to insert some end devices, as you can see from here. We need to insert some PCs and laptops and do the necessary connection. Click on the end device main category and drag 2 PC out to the main workspace and 1 laptop as highlighted here. Change the label of the PC to suit the requirement, PC and PCC, and for the laptop will be laptop A. Laptop A. So for connection wise, let's click on the lightning sign and select straight through, because for PC to switch is different device, so we are going to make use of straight through cable. Fast Ethernet connect to port 1 as highlighted in the label here. For PCC, Fast Ethernet 0 connected to port FA02 as highlighted here. And from the switch to the router is different device again, so we'll be using a straight through again, port 24 connect to FA01 interface of the router. And last but not least, the last connection will be from ISP router to the wireless router, wireless Ethernet 00 to the wireless router Ethernet connection. For this, we need to use a crossover cable because router to router is same device, so we should be using crossover cable. Between the laptop and wireless router, you don't have to connect the cable because we're going to make use of wireless link later. Let's start by configuring the IP addresses and gateway for the two PC, PCA and PCC, by looking at the parameters that is given below. 172.16.3.10 with a subnet mask of 255.255.250. The default gateway is 172.16.3.1. So take note that the default gateway is actually pointing to the ISP interface FA0/1.3 sub interface. So we know that your FA01.3 will be actually fulfilling traffic for VLAN 3, since from the PC we know that this is supposed to be on VLAN 3. For PCC, desktop IP config 172.16.6.10, 255.255.255.0 again because of /24, 172.16.6.1. And you can see that for default gateway 172.16.6.1 is the FA0/1.6 sub interface of ISP. So we know that the second sub interface is actually for VLAN 6. This will help us in the inter-VLAN routing configuration later. So after configuring the PC, we can safely proceed on to the switch to do the necessary configuration as given here for the parameter here. So go to CLI, enable, config key, let's start by configuring device name by using host name. Okay, in this case will be switch rev as given. Okay, we are not going to configure B, C, D, and E. Okay, because this is only for ISP. Okay, so we're going to skip all the way to F for encrypted privilege aggregated password. In this case, we'll enable secret REV456. Okay, then console password line con0 password REV123 login. Okay, and line VTY015 password okay, REV123. Okay, because for switch we're only going to do telnet. Okay, only going to do telnet. So you can see that we need to have VLAN 3 and VLAN 6. So we're going to create a two VLAN, VLAN 3 and VLAN 6. Okay, and we also have our IP address here for VLAN, interface VLAN 3. Okay, IP address 172.16.3.3, 255.255.255.0. No shut. Okay, always remember when you're working with interface, good habit or good practice to do a no shut at the end. Okay, so for default gateway, since we know that okay the management VLAN is VLAN 3, it means that my default gateway should be pointing to the sub interface FA01.3. Okay, so my default gateway will be IPDF 172.16.3.1. okay, so that will basically complete my management IP addresses and the default gateway setting. Next, let's start to configure the access mode and assign the correct interface for the correct VLAN. Let's start by port 1, interface FA0/1 is connected to PCA, and we can see that it's in VLAN 3. So port that is connected to PC, okay, we are supposed to configure it as SWMO PC access SWAC VLAN 3. We assign the port to be on VLAN 3. For port FA02, which is connected to PCC, SWMOAC again because it's connected to PC, and SWAC VLAN 6. You can see that it's connected, is for VLAN 6. Okay, not to forget port 6, which is connected to the log server, and we can see that it's also supposed to be in VLAN 3. So interface FA0/6 SWMOAC again, SWAC VLAN 6. Okay, and last but not least, port 24, which is connected to router, should be in trunk mode. Okay, so SWMOATR for trunk mode. Okay, and set the native VLAN to be VLAN 3. Okay, since we know that the management VLAN is 3. Switch port trunk if VLAN 3. Okay, so after doing this, we can actually verify by doing a show VLAN bridge. Okay, to verify all the interface is in the correct VLAN. So you can see that port 1 is in 3, port 2 and 6 is in 6 as what we have configured. Okay, port 24, you can see that it still appear here due to the reason that we have not enabled the router. Okay, even if you do show interface trunk now, you won't be able to see any output because the interface is not up and running yet. Okay, so after doing this, basically fulfill almost everything for the switch. Let's leave the SNMP and Z-stop to the last. Okay, so for internet router, let's go to ISP, CLI, enable config T again. Host name will be ISP as given. Okay, so the domain name will be IP domain name as given revision. Okay, and we're supposed to generate a crypto key using crypto key generate ISA. The number of it is 1024. Okay, create a username, ref user, privilege right 15 for administrative user, and the password is ref pass. Okay, so that will be the username with administrator right and the password ref. Okay, and last but not least, to enable your SSH. Okay, so will be line ETY 015 transport input SSH. Okay, and login local. Okay, and not to forget our line console 0 Okay, password rev123 login, and your enable secret for second level password. Okay, is rev for 456. Okay, and basically that will fulfill all the basic configuration for the router. Okay, next will be configuring the interface IP addresses. So let's start by doing the first interface FA0/0 IP at 10.10.10.1 255.255.255.252 for /30 and no shut. Okay, so you can see that currently the interface is red. Once I do no shut, the link to the wireless router becomes green. Okay, so this shows that I've actually enabled the interface. Next, let's enable the interface for FA01. Since the do sub interface is part of the main interface FA01, I'm going to no shut for the main interface. Okay, then I'm going to configure the sub interface. Okay, .3. So take note, you need to actually tell the router that this interface is for which VLAN. So by using the command encapsulation.1q followed by the VLAN that is assigned to cater to the VLAN traffic, okay, which is 3, which I explained just now, which this interface IP addresses is for PCA. Okay, so IP address 172.16.3.1 and respectively to a no shut. Similar for the next interface /1.6. Okay, then encapsulation.1q6 for VLAN 6, IP address 172.16.6.1 6.1 255.255.255.0 for /24 and no shut. Okay, and basically that will fulfill all the 3 IP addresses for all the 1 main interface and 2 sub interface. Okay, we can actually go back to the switch to do our show interface trunk command now, which will be able to see some output. Yes, you can see. Okay, we can see that port 24 is on trunking mode and the native VLAN is 3, like what we have configured earlier. Okay, so after doing this, let's go to a wireless router to configure the wireless setting. Okay, go to GUI. Okay, so based on the setting given, I'm supposed to change automatic configuration to static IP and configure 10.10.10.2. Okay, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.2 as given, and the gateway is 10.10.10.1. Okay, so that's what you need to configure for this part of the setting for your internet connection type. Okay, next is your router IP. So scroll down. Okay, router IP is 10.1.10.1.1.1.1. Okay, as given here. Subnet mask /24. So we must choose 255.255.250. DHCP already enabled, but we want to have a range from 25 to 50. So the starting address will be 25. Okay, and from 25 to 50, basically we're going to have 26 address. So we're going to put 26. Okay, you can see nothing changed here yet because we need to scroll down to save your setting. So take note when you move from tab to tab. Okay, please save setting before you move. If not, all your configuration will be gone. Once you save setting, scroll up, you can safely see that the IP address range has been updated according to what we want. Okay, what we want. Okay, next. Okay, let's go to wireless. For the SSID as given, it should be revision. Okay, and the broadcast are supposed to enable. No other option are given to change here, so I'm going to leave it as that. Scroll down, make sure you save the setting before you move to the next configuration. If not, all the settings will be gone. For wireless security, I'm going to make use of WPA2, WPA personal as given. Encryption type is AES. For the passphrase, which is also the password, will be revision. Yes. Okay. So after doing this, that's what you need to do for the wireless router. Okay. So after you configure the wireless setting for the wireless router, next you need to go to router. Okay, by default, when you drag a new laptop to the desktop, to the workspace, okay, it comes with Ethernet interface card. So you need to switch off the laptop, uninstall the Ethernet interface card before you install the WPC300N, okay, wireless network card, okay, before you switch on, so that you can actually connect to the wireless router wirelessly. Go to desktop, PC wireless, profile, edit, advanced setup. Okay, so for SSID, just now we can see that we are supposed to use, okay, revision. Okay, so type revision here. Next, okay, and leave it as DHCP. Next, security WPA personal must be the same. Okay, the encryption must be AES, and the pre-share key will be the passphrase, which in this case will be revision s. Okay, then click next and save, and click connect to network. Okay, so after a while, you should see a wireless link connected. Okay, and if you go to IP config, you should see that it grabs the first address of the DHCP range. Okay, and basically that is what you need to configure for the wireless router and the laptop. Okay, so the last but not least is to configure the INJ. Okay, so let's go to the switch and configure, okay, the requirement. Okay, so for the INJ, basically is to configure your SNMP setup, okay, with Cisco Lab and read-only privilege. Okay, so basically, okay, you can see that all the commands are also given here, okay, for you to follow. Okay, so okay, let's go back to the switch again and do the necessary configuration. Go to the switch. Okay, so SNMP server to configure it as an SNMP agent. Okay, community. Okay, so community name, I'm going to use Cisco Lab. Okay, and give it only read only, right? Okay, to actually configure the SNMP agent. Okay, press enter. Okay, for the syslog server, okay, we're going to use logging. Okay, because we are going to send, okay, we're going to send whatever log the switch have to the log server. So I must be putting the IP addresses of the server 172.16.3.20. Okay, and basically that's what you need to do. Okay, so go to the server services syslog. Okay, and let's test out, okay, our syslog configuration, whether does the server receive any messages from the switch. Okay, you can basically just exit. Okay, here again. Okay, sometimes it really takes a while, okay, before it